Timeshifters hope that you enjoyed this rare and infamous moment that combines a first-rate disaster with genuine historical significance. But now it's time to take a deep breath as we prepare to temporally reset you. Are you ready?
Everyone, welcome to a Timeshifters podcast interview special edition. Hopefully by now you have listened to my 5-minute-ish review on A Blind Bargain. Now in that review, I said at the time that I was like, I had to mull it over and everything. Well, I have mulled it over, and I thought what a great way to kind of keep it going is actually talking to the writer and director, Paul Bunnell, and he is with me on Zoom right now. Paul, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
It's an absolute pleasure. This is like deja vu all over again, to pull the curtain aside a little bit. We did attempt this, and the internet gods were not kind to us. So this is a take two. So if anything feels at all forced or anything, you all know why.
Absolutely. Yeah, not a problem. Not a problem.
Well, Paul, now it was so much fun when the screener came across, or the email that said this film, A Blind Bargain. I was like, oh, that sounds interesting. I just read the synopsis, didn't really read in that much into it. And then Vicky, the woman that was handling with the PR, said, oh, and you should talk to Paul Bunnell. He's really interesting. I'm like, wait a minute, I know that name. And I had to go and double check. And yes, you are indeed the man behind The Ghastly Love of Johnny X, which I reviewed many years ago, and absolutely
indeed.
Yeah, very much. Yeah, I truly love that film. And so I was like, oh, absolutely, I want to review this thing and then get a chance to talk to you. Your films, I've used multiple times now the word quirky. And I wish I could find a better word, but that it seems to fit so well.
Yeah, they're quirky because I'm quirky. I like to make fun movies, all different kinds of movies. But this one was something that came to me by a friend. It wasn't something that I had set out to make on my own or anything. But I wasn't doing anything and had some time, and I liked the idea. A fellow kind of film nerd buddy of mine, John Filatico, and his friend George Wagner, they were going to make this movie, and because they're Lon Chaney fans, and I love silent movies, of course.
Yeah, just for anyone that didn't listen to the review or anything, or haven't looked into this or seen the film, A Blind Bargain, the film is actually based on a lost Lon Chaney film, and it's just using the script, which fortunately I guess does exist,
right?
And that's what you used as kind of the basis to do this film in, and that's just such a creative way to kind of bring these films that have unfortunately been lost to us through time and neglect in many cases, a way to kind of bring life back to them. It's really almost sort of fitting when you talk about like Lon Chaney, the classic monsters and the monster films and that sort of stuff. The idea that you're resurrecting these films.
Yeah, I never thought I would be making a remake or a reimagining even of a silent movie. I mean, I love nostalgia and I love recreating period type things. But this one kind of came out of nowhere. I mean, well, not nowhere, but these guys have been talking about it for like 7 or 8 years. And I'm finally like, hey, if you want to do this thing, I'll type the script out, because they just hand wrote it out on paper. So I typed it up and I looked at it and I'm like, oh, this isn't very good, But I decided to come on board after George dropped out, and then I sort of, got another writer involved, and we reworked the script, and then John and I sat down and did the final polish or screenplay based on Bing Bailey's reimagining of his story. And I mean, it was just one of those fun things.
one of the most creative things that you've done with this one is you brought it forward in time a little bit from the 1920s. You brought it ahead about 50 years and placed it in 1970. I Doing any period piece is got to be a bit of a challenge.
Yeah.
So I definitely applaud you for taking that task on, and I'll go ahead and say doing it really well. I That's one of the things that I really loved about watching this film is at no point was like the illusion of the 1970s kind of broken.
Yeah, well, thank you. I'm a bit of a stickler for that kind of thing. And when I did Johnny X, they a lot of people that watch that film, they think that is a period piece, but it's not. It has a 50s, a 60s, even some 70s inspired stuff in it. But I certainly wouldn't have let Paul Williams have an earring stud in his ear if that was 1950s, and I wouldn't have let these little concession guys carry around, bottles of water throwing them out, because that's not a 50s thing. But yeah, getting back to this one, Blind Bargain, I think it was just hiring the right people, the right costume designer, some people that I've worked with before, and our production designer was Frida Oliva. First time I worked with her, she's very talented, and yeah, it's just working with good people, and we had a fun idea. And again, not to take we took liberties because it was a reimagining. It wasn't a true remake of the film, which nobody could see anyway. But I think that if we had remade the original film really faithfully, it wouldn't have been as interesting for today's audiences. But when we reimagined it, and I put some of my quirky sensibilities in there, a little bit of humor and whatnot, then it became something that I was more interested in wanting to do, like the all the weird psychotronic stuff, and it just very that kind of went with the 70s. I was thinking of Willy Wonka and the Chocolate
Oh,
Factory,
sure.
with Gene Wilder when they're riding on that boat and he's
Hmm.
saying that weird yeah, actually that was kind of to come to think of it, there's no way of knowing, is it raining, is it snowing, is a hurricane a blowing? Yeah, because then we had Crispin Glover spouting poetry during that psychotronic scene in Blind Bargain, and we had more. But unfortunately, Crispin cut some of those out, and I'm like, oh drat, he didn't want to. I don't know, but I mean, it would have been. I kind of wanted to do more with that sequence, but because there was only like maybe one or two of those little, poetry sections in the script that was left, we didn't get to do as much, but it still came out a lot of fun. And the old cars and the all the set dressing and the costumes again were just pretty amazing. We had a pretty healthy budget. I mean, a lot of people would think, oh, they just went to the thrift store and grabbed some. No, no, it was much more, planned out. And, you have to have doubles, sometimes triples of certain things. But because it was a period piece and we did rent our costumes from a rental place out here that did have a lot of vintage stuff, a lot of that's just one. You don't get doubles. Now, if you do a scene where the actor has to get in a fight or they have blood on them, then you have to make sure you have a few duplicates, just in
Sure.
case. But anyway, so yeah, it's all in the planning, really, all in the planning.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd imagine. Now you mentioned Crispin Glover. We can jump kind of into the casting of this thing. Yeah, I can't think of a better actor to play your Dr. Gruder. You needed somebody with that sort of edge, and again, I'll use the word kind of quirkiness about them. Crispin Glover, I just really appreciate him as an actor because he could have, especially after Back to the Future, he could have made a fortune playing that character in a dozen different films or something like that.
Yeah,
And he really stepped back from that, and he was very selective about the type of films that he would do. And
absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah, he is very selective, actually. He told me that he turns down, things that are offered to him for a lot of money. But he has certain criteria for, wanting to do film. He doesn't want to do any films that has any cruelty to animals or, abuse to women or, Believe it or not. I mean, he's very, it's good, I mean, he has his morals there. One of the interesting things he recommended was that I remove all the cursing from the script. And,
Oh, interesting.
yeah, we're not, he's not a prude. I'm not a prude or anything. But his point being that when he watched some of these old films that were period pieces and he heard modern day cursing in it, he felt that it kind of took him out of the movie. I mean, I'm sure people cursed in all time periods, but I think he's right. When we watch these older films, you don't generally see or hear of the cursing in there. But so I'm glad we did because I'm not a big fan of it anyway, and a lot of that was put into one of the earlier drafts that was written by Bing Bailey, and yeah, we just watered it down, for better or worse. I mean, I think for better, and it kind of gives it a bit of a charm to it, the movie, and it's a kind of a film. If I wanted to, I could show my grandmother. I'm not ashamed of anything
Right.
in the movie, which is kind of the way I approach all of my films. I mean, there are some suggestive, sometimes I do put some suggestiveness in there, sexuality from like Johnny X here and there, but it generally can go over the heads of a lot of kids, although I don't know, they're doing things on the screen today I didn't even do on my honeymoon. So, that's an old Bob Hope joke, by the way. Yeah, I don't know. It was just great, having Crispin on the film and his expertise. And he's a real artist. I think he considers himself to be a filmmaker, a director first, and he acts in films to, finance his projects. It's sort of like
Mhm.
what Orson Welles did, actually, back
Yeah,
in
yeah, a
the
little
day.
bit.
And Orson Welles, we know he was a genius. So I
Right.
think Crispin, he's a really brilliant, artist. I like Crispin. We got along well on the film, and I've seen him since. And yeah, he's a great guy. What can I say? Very talented.
Yeah, excellent. No, and it just spot on for the role. I can't imagine anyone else. And then you go to your actual kind of lead stars here, Jake Horowitz and Lucy Loken, who played Dominic and Ellie. And
Yeah.
I found the two of them just amazing together. They had that sort of real natural quality where you feel like they've known each other for years and they truly had a connection and a relationship. And that's how it comes through in the film.
Yeah, I really enjoyed working with them both. Jake was suggested by my casting directors, Lisa London and Catherine Stroud. And I mean, she was sending me actors and things, and I would look at their photos, and there was something about Jake. I just thought, wow, he has an interesting look. I think he'd be good for this. He's not that I tend to sometimes cast, against type. But he didn't look like a druggie or a thug. He's very clean cut, nice looking young man. But now with Lucy, Lucy Loken, who was the right age for this, I knew her parents. I know her parents. I've known them since before she was born, going over 30 years. I mean, gosh, I met her mom and dad back when they were dating back in 1992. So, and I knew that they had a daughter and that she had started doing acting when she was a kid. And I thought, oh, that's kind of cool. And then I had this thing, and she's the right age, the right look. I said, I'm gonna. I called up her mom, and I said, can you get me Lucy's agent's number so we can look? And it just worked out. And I knew I wanted to use her because, she has a look, a good look, and she's very talented. And my favorite scene in the movie actually is. Probably you would think it would be some of the weird stuff, but I think my favorite scene in the movie is when Lucy and Jake are sitting in the bar, and it's a rather lengthy scene, and we take our time with it, and it kind of has like three parts. I call it the three sections
Hmm.
because it starts with one thing and it goes to another, and then Vincent comes in, and anyway, that's my favorite scene in the movie where it's just Lucy and Jake getting to know one another and they're having this discussion and the scene takes its time and you just kind of see what's going on, and there's a dynamic when Vincent sits down that Rob Mays, it's I had a lot of fun with Rob that day. He's flicking his lighter, flicking, flicking, flicking.
Yeah.
That was not in this, that was a mistake. I mean, but he kept in character. And I tried my hardest to keep from laughing while we were shooting that. I loved it. And, we cut away to Lucy kind of looking frustrated and whatnot. But I love that scene a lot. And the song that I used in the background called Every Little Thing You Love by the Bynars. It's a more of a contemporary song that sounds like an older song, believe it or not. But I've been wanting to use that song in a movie for years. Well, I mean, it's not, I mean, the song's maybe like 20 years old or 22 years. But yeah, I've been looking for, maybe it's not that, maybe it's only 10 or 12 years old, actually. Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, I just love that scene. A lot of fun. And the art direction, that bar, that was all a set. And Frida did a great job with that set. It
No,
really
that's
truly
excellent.
looks like the 70s with that old TV set. That TV set, by the way, that I use in the bar and in the medical center is the same TV set I used in Johnny X.
Oh, nice.
That's in the diner. I had it a prop especially designed with a little flat screen in there so you could photograph it on film and it wouldn't strobe. And so yeah,
Oh,
I
clever, clever.
reused that prop, which was cool.
Yeah, very clever. I love the fact that even though as you said, you had a decent budget for this and everything, but still, it's got that air of the independent filmmaker when you're calling your friends or your friends' family and getting people to assist and help with your project. It's one of the things that I love about independent film is because they just have that little bit more of a soul and a little bit of heart because of that.
Yeah, yeah, that's I thought when I was younger my goal was to, be a studio director. I started making movies in the 70s, when I was 11 years old. And I always wanted to be like make a real movie. And one thing led to another. Anyway, I never quite made it on that kind of level. But I've been very fortunate for an indie guy who has been able to make movies with full creative control, mostly because I do the projects, I produce them on my own, and I raise the money myself or partly finance it myself. But with this movie, John Filatico, he'd never made a film before. He's a film buff, and he owns a cattle ranch, so he had a couple $2.5 million sitting around, and
Nice.
we made
Yeah.
we made the movie, and he gave me full creative control of the film, which is what I asked for, and yeah, so I gave him what I thought was a good final product, a professional product looking, a movie that obviously is good enough to be released in movie theaters. So
Hmm.
I'm very kind of thrilled and happy. I saw it last weekend in New York, and I sat in there. I bought some popcorn. And I sat down and I watched it with some of the folks, and I always greet them when they're coming out and stuff. And it was just kind of cool because I love going to the movies and I love making movies for people that love movies and giving them an experience you might not expect. And that's what a blind bargain is. It's something that you go in thinking it might be one thing, but it turns out to be another. And it's just kind of hopefully, most people, like it and they want to see it again. So that makes me really happy.
Absolutely. Well, before we leave out of the casting, there's a few more people we got to talk about. Amy Wright and Annalisa Cochran, who both
Right.
play the character Joy at different times in the film.
Mhm.
Just two amazing women. The what they bring to this film, Amy Wright as the older Joy has this solemnness and sort of almost you can feel a little bit of that. I don't know what the word if regret's the right word, or she's looking at her past. Her character is a old silent film actress,
Right.
and she's watching her old films, and she's seeing herself as just the days gone by. The times have left her
Yeah, she's,
behind.
she's thinking about how the good old days and when she was
Hmm.
young. She was reflecting, And I'll tell you, Amy, you can't go wrong with Wright. Amy Wright is a wonderful actress, and I'm so thrilled that Crispin suggested her. I was like, yeah, this is good. Let's see if we can get her. He said, well, I may be more inclined to want to do the film if you can get her. I'd love to work with her. I'm like, okay, I keep my fingers crossed. So she was available. I met her and she wanted to do it. Amy's was in the original Amityville Horror and The Deer Hunter and Woody Allen's Stardust Memories and so many
Hmm.
wonderful films, Crossing Delancey. So she had a pretty good career in the 70s and 80s. And she was married to Rip Torn. And so yeah, it's a really wonderful that to work with her. And Annalisa was some casting director sent me some girls, and I auditioned them. We do the little auditions now over the internet, and I picked the ones I liked, and there were about two in the running, and so we ended up with Annalisa because I asked Crispin and he thought she was good. So that's how we got her. And she's the sweetest girl. She just actually Amy and Annalisa just saw the film for the first time this past weekend in New York. That's where they live. So they came and they saw it, did a Q&A with us, and they didn't throw any Rotten Tomatoes at me. So I guess I was all right there.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah, Annalisa just brings a really great energy to actually have to be the same character as what Amy Wright is playing, but she brings
Yeah.
such a different energy because she has like suddenly found herself with a new lease on life, literally a new life kind of at her
Yeah.
fingertips.
Hey, what did you think of that little redhead that was in the film? Remember that little petite redhead that was always with Sean Whalen?
Oh, I thought she was absolutely awesome. I can't believe she didn't have a bigger role.
Well, she's my wife, and I married her, and I didn't give her the part because we're married, but I thought she's really funny and really talented, and so I gave her that little role. And what's interesting about her, not only, and she was also in the bar scene. Can you guess where? She was the go-go dancer. I'll just tell
Oh,
you,
that's
save you time.
yeah. I remember reading
We
that.
put her, we slapped a
Yeah.
wig on her, and I said, "Hey, you're going to be the go-go dancer." Anyway, the neat thing about the interesting thing about Claudia is that she also did all the paintings for the movie. She painted that demonic painting that's in Gruder's office and during the opening credits, and she painted the Scrivener's painting of the Eternal Girl or whatever, and then so like the in the bathtub scene in the jungle. She did all that art stuff, the chalk drawing. So she's very talented. So I was able to put her to work there. But
Excellent.
so I bet everybody was wonderful. I had a great time with some of my old friends, Jed Rowan and
Yes.
Chuck Williams, who I've known forever. And I just happened to be sitting in a coffee shop, and I needed that last guy in the gang, and I'm like, "There's Chuck. I hadn't seen him in years. Hey, Chuck, you want to be in a movie? I got something for you." He's like, "Anything for you, Paul. Anything for you." Chuck's very supportive. I love that guy.
Love it.
So, but anyway, yeah, I'm glad you noticed the cast. They're all really good people. Very, very good cast.
Yeah. Now you mentioned Jed Rowan. He's an actor. When I watch some of these lower budget horror films, when I see his name come up, I just kind of smile a little bit.
Oh
The
yeah.
first the first time I think I saw him, it was in a not so great low budget horror film that was screening at a Denver Star Fest in their
Oh
horror
yeah.
fest
Right.
block. It was called Attitude for Destruction. It's not a film I would openly recommend to many people, but I remember him in that. He may have even been there that year, but I wasn't as
Yeah,
in
he went
tuned
there to
to it
Denver. I went
all.
to I went to Denver with him one year for Johnny X, and so
Yeah,
yeah.
I wonder if that was the same year, or maybe it was
Well,
the
that's the
year
year
after.
that I met Christopher Mim. He had a new film called Attack of the Moon Zombies. So we met there, and then yeah, that was in 19. I'm sorry, 19, but I told you where I'm
Not
at.
that far back.
That was in
Don't
2012. I think it was probably 2012 when we did that. So
okay.
yeah, Starfest. Yeah.
But yeah, so ever since then, though, I do see the occasional Jed Rowan. I really liked him in Johnny X, and in this film, I absolutely adored him. He was
Uh,
brilliant. I love the fact that you give him real roles. He's not
yeah.
just the heavy or the villain or anything
No,
of the
I think
piece.
he's a highly underrated actor, and he needs better role. I mean, he does a lot of things, and he's done some interesting projects. But he always says to me that his two greatest role, he thanks for me for giving him his two greatest roles in films. Johnny, The Ghastly Love of Johnny X and A Blind Bargain. And hopefully there'll be more, But I worked with him a lot, knowing him from Johnny X. I knew what he was capable of, and so I really gave him something interesting to do here. It's not really. It's just coincidental that the names are Sluggo and Logos. I don't know. They sound kind of similar, but that wasn't planned. But so yeah, Jed's wonderful. We really worked hard on his monologue. His head is a blank canvas, and I thought, man, in every movie you don't have any hair. I got to give him a little wisp of hair. So I had the makeup guy put some hair on him, and it was a lot of fun. And then we extended his nose and gave him a contact lens, and the makeup was so real. Even standing close to him, you almost couldn't tell he was wearing makeup. So it was that
I
good.
Yeah, I honestly, it didn't stand out at all. I just thought, well, Jed Owen, he aged a little bit from the last time I saw him or
Yeah.
something. Yeah.
No, he's actually in better shape now than he was when he did Johnny X. He's older, of course. Actually, tomorrow's his birthday, so we're gonna go hang out. But yeah,
Awesome.
we're it's just funny. Time flies, really. But now he looks great, and he's looking forward to working with me again if we can make another movie, and I am too.
Oh,
So.
yeah, I hope so. I hope so. Because the two films, the big films that I've seen, I've truly enjoyed. I've spent a little time hanging out on your YouTube channel where you have many behind the scenes photos or, excuse me, interviews and clips from your different films and on set and that sort of thing. But along with those, you also have a couple of your short films that you did quite a long time ago, back in the 70s, I think.
The 80s, I think the ones on YouTube are from the 80s, yeah.
Okay, okay. There was one that was The Visitant.
The Visitant. I still say that's my best movie. Yeah,
That
I
is a
was.
really great little creepy film.
Thank you. I was 17 years old when I made that movie, and the budget was $500. So, I mean, talk about being resourceful. And it was all shot on a Super 8 camera. And, it was, gosh, those were the days. I tell you, it was shot at the cemetery near my house where I grew up, and we had a lot of fun with that. And then I made some other short films like Final Destination Unknown,
That's
Obliteration, Cellar Doors. I mean, so many different weird things. I've made over 22 films actually,
wow.
but most of them are not available or accessible at this time.
Yeah,
But
that's a
those are
shame. The Final
they're a
Destination.
little clunky because they're shot on Super 8, but
Sure.
you can see the passion behind them.
Absolutely. No, Final Destination Unknown was the other short that I got a chance to watch. And that's also, I had a lot of fun watching that one too. They both remind me of like a old Tales of the Dark Side story. They have
Exactly.
that.
Yeah, yeah. The girl in Final Destination Unknown. Have you ever seen Monster Squad?
Yeah,
The movie?
once.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she was like the virgin in Monster Squad. Actually, she was making that film while we were shooting my film. And so she said, "Hey, Paul, come down to the set at Warner Brothers." And I got to hang out and watch them film Monster Squad one night over at Warner's. So that was cool. Some of my film education, I'm a self-taught filmmaker, but I really spent a lot of time hanging out on movie sets. Through my connections or working at the studios. I'd go over and watch them film. I mean, a lot of them were the early Disney films. I mean, I got inspired being on the set of Something Wicked This Way Comes and watching
Uh,
all of that being done and The Black Hole, the Disney film from the sci-fi
oh,
film.
fun.
I was on
Nice.
that set. Can you believe? And I mean, gosh, I mean, so I was on the set of Jurassic Park. That's right. I turned down a job working on E.T. the Extraterrestrial. Can you believe the stupidity of that?
Wow. Yeah.
I mean, to make a long story short, I had an opportunity to go to Disney Studios and be in the mailroom, which was my life. I always wanted to do that. And I was
Hmm.
18, and my friend Robert McNaughton had a part in E.T. It was called A Boy's Life or something at that time, and I just knew it was a Spielberg film. So I'm like, I love Spielberg. And his dad called me and said, "Hey, could you be Robert's guardian on the set?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I mean, but I couldn't do it because my mother said, "Well, you've got this Disney job opportunity, and that's full time, and the other things
Hmm.
part, just going to be done in a couple of months." So, my mother talked me into it, but I always regretted not being there on the set of ET. That would have been so cool. I could have watched them shoot that whole thing. But anyway,
Yeah, it's a shame. No, you
yeah,
definitely seem to have lived kind of a little bit of a charmed life when it comes to film or being
yeah.
in the right places at the right time or
Yeah,
knowing
and
the right people.
I worked in movies, even as a background player. I've been in, worked in a Scorsese film, Spielberg's War of the Worlds, Tim Burton's Planet of the Apes. I was an ape in
Wow.
that thing.
Oh, fun.
Anything for a buck. But what I would do when I was on those sets is I would just watch the director and watch how
Hmm.
I'd say, well, this is something the way I'd like to do it, or some directors, I don't want to be like that. But anyway, it's kind of like on the job training. I just watch
Yeah,
it, like being an
absolutely.
intern or something. But yeah.
Yeah,
But
that's
I developed
fantastic.
my own style, and I've always had my certain sensibilities. And my movies, even when I was a kid, they were a little odd. I would be doing these movies where I would star in them as like the silent movie character, and like Charlie Chaplin, and they were just weird. I mean, the other kids making films at the time were doing Star Trek type things and
Right.
action films, but I just did the weird old 1930s, 1920s things. I've always been kind of an old soul. But that's why
Right.
I was right for A Blind Bargain, because it's such a throwback, and it's done like shot on film, projected on film in 35 millimeter, and it was just so cool to be able to do it the way I like to do it, old school techniques. And it was my opportunity to make a night gallery episode, really, which is what
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
did. So I could cross that one off my bucket list, I guess.
Yeah. Excellent. Yeah, I really appreciate the fact that you go to the trouble of shooting on film. I know
Yeah.
in Johnny X, didn't you use like the last of a particular brand of black and white film?
Yeah, it didn't start out to be that way, but because there was a 6 year gap in filming, and by the time I got the money to finish it, they were just starting to discontinue Kodak Plus X. And I'm like, oh no, so I went to Kodak, and they found about 90,000 feet. They pulled it from all their inventory, all from their different, warehouses, even one in Paris, I think. And I got it, and I shot it, and just finished that movie just barely with that very fine grain black and white. They still make a black
Mhm.
and white stock. It's a tri-X, or double X, but now, yeah, it was a wonderful experience, and that movie looks really good too. The Ghastly Love of Johnny. Beautiful cinematography. The same DP, cinematographer who did A Blind Bargain, Francisco Bulgarelli. I gave him a chance to redeem himself. No, just kidding. I love Francisco. Great team, great camera people. I love all my camera. There's two things that I'm very particular about when I'm making a movie. That is the shots, the way the camera moves. I like it to be very fluid and nice. And
Mhm.
the sound design. I'm very highly involved with the sound design. I'm very hands-on. So yeah, and you only saw this in a screener, but if you ever get to see it in a theater, and
Mhm.
anybody that goes to see it, you're going to hear how good that sound is. It's really, really cool. So,
Yeah,
it
yeah,
really,
I'm really sorry that I haven't had a chance to see any of your films actually on film in a theater. I think that would be just such a different experience, and it'd be so much fun.
yeah, that's
I
the
enjoy
ultimate.
them. I enjoy them digitally. That if that's the only
Good.
way I get to see them, that's the only way I get to see them. But
Yeah.
if by chance anything ever comes to a theater near me that's actually going to be showing on film, that's a no brainer. But anyway, anyone who wants to go see A Blind Bargain, it is touring. It is coming to many theaters on film. You can go to a blindbargainmovie.com. Is that correct?
That's right. Yeah. And just go to the tickets section, and we put the links to the theaters. It's going to be opening on May 8th over here in Los Angeles, and it will be screening at Landmark's New Art Theater, which I actually had some short films play there back in 1982. But yeah, I can't wait to see it there. It's going to be at the Lemley Theaters in North Hollywood, and in Encino, and I believe at the Alamo Draft House in Los Angeles. So. Select shows will be at the New Art. Will be screening on 35 millimeter, so that's cool. So if you're interested in that and you're nearby West LA, go check it out. It's worth it. I'll be there for Q&As as well.
That's awesome. That's going to be a lot of fun for you, and everyone that goes to see it, I think it's the type of film that whether you like it or not, you're going to talk about it, and you're going to have questions about it. And I think it's great that you're going to be there to answer those questions.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, we've had some doozies. Like, what were you thinking? Why are you here? No, not that bad. But no, I'm always happy to answer questions. And sometimes we give away posters. I'll tell you what, if any of your listeners are listening to this and you happen to go to the New Art Theater in Los Angeles and you come up to me and you say, you heard me on the Time Shifters podcast, right? Time
Yep.
Shifters. And I will give you a free signed blind bargain poster. How about that? These
Oh,
things
that
are
that
beautiful too. So just mention you heard me on the Time Shifters, and that's good enough.
yeah, and that poster is going to look great on your wall. It's a really great looking poster. It looks very
Absolutely.
much kind of in the vein of the film, and it looks to me like a film that maybe a sort of an art house 70s film would have,
Right.
sort of thing. Yeah.
Well, the designer of that poster is the same guy, Aaron Lee, who designed The Ghastly Live of Johnny X and all my artwork for that. And he's so talented. I found out about him through Don Coscarelli. He designed for Don,
Ah, yeah.
Bubba Hotep, I think, and John dies at the end. But so yeah, I love Aaron. He's his art is ever evolving. His work is different now than it was when we did Johnny X. But I mean, this Blind Bargain poster is outstanding. It's
Oh,
just I mean, I think it should win an award or something.
yeah.
Uh,
It's captivating. You see the poster and you want to see the film.
yeah, yeah, that's true. That's
And
true.
that's an art that I think is that has, I won't say it's lost, but it's rare when it comes to movie
Yeah,
making.
well, it's movie marketing, and I've always been, noticed these, posters, been a fan of one sheets and collected them, and these are just things that I'm familiar with. So this is maybe why I'm good at sort of directing and, getting people, finding the right people to help with in the certain areas that we want to try to do, like these posters and whatnot.
All right. Well, I won't take any more of your time. I want to thank you very much for sitting down with me again and letting us do this this take two.
Yes.
It's been a brilliant conversation. Good
Oh
luck
yeah.
with the film. Enjoy the tour and the Q&As and everything.
Thank
And
you.
yeah, hope to see it in a theater near me.
Well, let's keep our fingers crossed, and you have a great one, and we'll see you down the line there.